or media lunches or the relationship and history between Mr. Cook and Mr. Chairman Moore. I'm not sure that I have a clear understanding of what's on the table at this particular point in time, and I think it's probably appropriate that Mr. Cook go on back to the business of running the Office of Probation and Pretrial Release at this point in time.
All right. Dwight, I'm going to say this. The mayor said in the paper, you quote me if I'm wrong, that we didn't need to have subpoena powers. Is that correct? He thought that everybody would come down here willingly. I went to a person in the hallway that works in the mayor's office and told this person, I don't want to call her the name out right now, that I may have to subpoena them, that I did not want to, that I would try to get out of it and bring it in because they are not a high up on the echelon, but I felt like they could answer some questions of things that had been done wrong, but I just wanted them to know up front that I may have to subpoena them. That day, I believe it was, the mayor was out of town. This person went to you, and in front of two witnesses later, a day or two later, she stated that you sent her down to the Human Resources and said she asked you when she come to your office, do I need to get a lawyer? And you had her to go down and file a complaint on me about harassment. I don't want to hide anything, harassment. Now, not sexual harassment, for harassing her. I was advised not to speak to this employee. So one day I passed her, and her and Bill Lyons were talking in the hallway right at the commission door. I had to go in, and they spoke to me, and I went on, and they raised such a racket about why I wouldn't speak to them that I turned around and came back and said I was advised by the law director not to talk to you. Then I went on inside. A few minutes later, this person came down to the commission office and in front of two witnesses stated that we need to solve our resolve, that we need to talk to each other, that she did not want to get a lawyer, but she went up there and asked you if she needed to get one, and you told her to go down and file that complaint against me. And she said she did not want to, but she was directed by you to do that. And I have two witnesses that was said in front of. So I feel like that I have gotten every roadblock set up in front of me that the mayor's office and you could put, and all kinds of spin from you and the Sentinel on what's going on up here at this office. Now, I'm going to be here, hopefully, until 2010. You can take it to the bank on this, buddy. I'm not through. I've seen more spin from you and the Sentinel, and it's just exactly like I told you. The reason the Sentinel gives you all this paper press is I've caught you taking them all out and feeding them. Now, you said that was your job. It may be your job, but it's not the taxpayers of Knox County's position to pay for these meals. And you knew that, but yet you sent all this spin out. Now, you call my name when you want to, and if you can show I'm doing something politically, come forward. And the only thing you can use against me is because my wife works for the Sheriff's Department. I have never been to that Sheriff's Department one time except when I was elected. The Sheriff, Tim Hutchison, nor J.J. or Tom Spangler, none of them ever asked me to vote for anything. Now, you can call me politically or whatever you want to. It don't bother because I know exactly where I'm coming from. And, buddy, when you're talking to me, you better be telling the truth because I'm going to try to find out why you aren't. And I'm certainly finding a lot of inconsistencies, especially more in this travel audit than's ever been bought out. I'm going to subpoena the phone records. This is open records. I want the phone records of Mike Arms's extension. I'm going to show that he didn't talk for 36 hours on any phone to get John Warner vested to where he could take more money from the taxpayers. You send it out and saying you're dismissed, and then you come up here and say that they were terminated and all that. Well, they resigned, but you paid them. You did not dismiss them or terminate them. You paid them to take money instead of paying them to get them past this period. And I think that these other two people have a good lawsuit against Knox County because they were treated different. And I know if I was there, I would certainly bring charges against Knox County.
Commissioner, there's about 5 items in that litany. There's really only 2 that I care to respond to. The first involves the secretary in our office that you spoke to in the hall. Commissioner, I'm built for speed, and I'm paid to take this kind of abuse. Our secretaries are not. We cannot and we will not stand by while you or any member of this body attempts to bully or intimidate any member of our staff. You may not think that's what you were doing, but I do. And as a matter of record, we will not stand by idly while any member of our staff is bullied or intimidated. I make no apologies for it. I did not order her to do anything. I discussed it with her, and I gave her her options. She made her own decisions. Secondly, as far as the sheriff's office and as far as your wife, I've known her many years. I worked with her. I personally, Dwight Vandevate, not speaking for the mayor's office or just speaking for myself, think she is one of the kindest, most gracious, hard-working employees I ever had the privilege to work with at the sheriff's office. Quite clearly, you and I don't hold each other in very high esteem, but Dorothy Pinkston's a class act and a nice lady.
Thank you, and I'm certainly sorry that I thought I was doing someone a favor by informing them that I may have to subpoena them and tell them I didn't want to instead of just surprising them with one. If that's harassment, then I guess I'm guilty of it, sir. But I certainly appreciate it if you ever want to subpoena me, if you'd let me know.
Commissioner Ballard.
The law director, Don. The charter gives us subpoena power, and I would suspect that. Which one's that? Okay. Gives us subpoena power, but I would imagine that's only for people in Knox County. When somebody like Tyler is across in Washington or wherever you hear that he is, would not a criminal charge by a victim have to be placed in order to subpoena him?
Well, I don't place criminal charges, but
well, that's what I mean.
The legislative subpoena power will not extend beyond Knox County's boundary.
So unless Chad, I guess, I see him back there, can we subpoena Tyler Harber without him? That's the only one I heard that as a victim.
You'll need to address that with Mr. Tyndall as far as that goes.
Well, I'm talking about
you're talking about whether whether Mr. Tyndall wishes to bring charges, right?
No, I'm just saying, can we bring Tyler Harber back?
No.
With just our charge?
This body cannot.
So they would be
unless he's within the confines of Knox County, we could have him subpoenaed.
So how do we do an investigation and bring him back unless there's a criminal charge placed? I guess that's what Scott wants to know from Mr. Nichols. Is that along the line?
Well, Mr. Nichols is here. If he'd come down to the podium.
Commissioner Nichols, thank you for coming down.
You're welcome. Attorney General. Attorney General is not commissioner.
Oh, I'm sorry. General Nichols.
Randy will.
I took you down a notch or two.
Yes, sir. Could I help you?
Well, I guess, I was asking the law director one thing, but I guess how if Knox County subpoena power cannot bring Tyler Harber back, how can we move forward with any investigation unless he's criminally charged and bring him back to subpoena him, I guess, would be the question that I have.
I don't have any idea what your parameters are as a county commission, and that would be better left, of course, to your council. I simply could not answer that question. We looked at this matter very intensely. My memory fails me on exactly when that was, Commissioner, but it was investigated, I thought, quite thoroughly. We had determined that there may be a legitimate charge that could be placed, basically involving theft from Mr. Tyndall, who was the chairman at that time. And we discussed all of that with our potential victims in the case, and it was not. It was decided not to pursue those charges. That would have been a misdemeanor, I may add. The statute is now run, so I don't really know how to respond to your question. There's nothing that's continued to be under any investigation in regard to this episode.
I'll defer to Scott if he has none, but before I do,